Hey folks, Will Brink here at www.brinkzone.com. Today I want to cover the topic of vegetarian eating versus omnivorous eating. If your goal specifically is geared toward gaining muscle mass, strength, controlling body comp, that type of thing, it is my opinion that omnivorous eating is going to be superior. The data on that is suggestive, but it's not conclusive. That is, there isn't a lot of really good data specifically on vegetarian eating versus omnivorous eating on like body comp and strength and that kind of thing. What's usually looked at, of course, is other stuff such as health parameters, cholesterol, that type of thing. There is some data that is suggestive, like I say, that omnivorous eating is going to be superior to vegetarian eating. There was one study in older men put on resistance training and given a vegetarian versus omnivorous diet, and the men eating the omnivorous diet did gain more muscle mass and strength. And there's some other studies, but it wasn't a very big study. It's not at all what I would say is, smoking gun or proof that omnivorous diet is default superior to vegetarian eating in terms of goals such as, like say, increased strength, muscle mass, that type of thing. So the data is sort of not really conclusive there. It is suggestive, again, towards omnivorous eating, but not conclusive. Bottom line, however, is, for me, human beings, physiologically speaking, are omnivores. That is the bottom line. We are designed to be omnivores. If you are eating as a vegetarian for ethical, moral, religious reasons, I totally support you. I understand, and I'm totally good with that. If you are eating as a vegetarian because you are under the impression it is a superior diet or better for your health than an omnivorous diet, then you're incorrect. And the problem, again, when you look at studies, if you compare, the average American diet, which is awful, to a well-constructed vegetarian diet, the vegetarian diet is going to be healthier for you. There's no doubt about that. But that's sort of an apples and oranges, or a non sequitur, as they say. Now, if you compare a properly constructed omnivorous diet to a well-constructed or a vegetarian diet, the omnivorous diet is going to be the better diet for you all around. And again, that is our biology. And again, if people say otherwise, they don't understand human physiology, and that's the bottom line there as far as I'm concerned. So again, I'm supportive of it if you're doing it for the right reasons. If you're doing it because you think it's healthiest, it's not. Again, do people eat, on average, too much meat and not enough vegetables and fruit and stuff? Absolutely. That's for sure. So again, a lot of people, of course, also think that vegetarian diets by default are healthier. I trained a kid who was a vegetarian who ate ice cream and pizza. It was vegetarian, so there is, of course, always going to be extremes on both sides. You can definitely be healthy as a vegetarian, but it's not necessary in terms of if you're under the impression it's optimal for health, because, like I said, it's not. A lot of times people like to, point to some extreme example of some athlete who was great in his time as a vegetarian or what have you. And you have to be careful with that, because a lot of these guys aren't terribly honest. That is, they were not vegetarians when they were competing. Again, sometimes they are, a lot of times they were not, but they have an agenda. Two, it's just not good science to do that, because if 99% of the population or 99% of the high-level athletes are omnivores and 1% were vegetarians, mathematically speaking, the successful strategy has been to be an omnivore, obviously. I mean, that's just, the numbers, that's the way it works. And also using an extreme example or a rarity to an exception to the norm, again, not good science. We all know, for example, for most people, most of the time, to gain muscle, you're going to need to train somewhere in the 80% 1RM range and so on and so forth. But you can always trot out some bodybuilder who gained all of his muscle doing 50 reps per set using very light weights. They exist, but they are certainly not. They are the exception to the norm. They're certainly not the way most people should train, or most people are going to maximize their benefits to what they're doing. And that's the same thing I see with vegetarian eating. And again, an n=1 example of someone did something is not, again, good science. You would have to take a number of athletes, enough athletes to be statistically significant, doing the omnivore diet, compare them to the vegetarian diet, and run the study long enough to actually see what it does to their performance or what have you, to get, real valid stuff here, and that just doesn't exist. So bottom line for me is, and also when it comes to vegetarians, as far as Of course, there are lacto-ovo-vegetarians who will have a much easier time getting adequate protein in their diet than vegans. Vegans do have quite a challenge as far as getting adequate protein for athletic requirements, especially if you are focusing on, again, gaining muscle, getting stronger, that type of thing. Vegetarians from a sports nutrition point of view, are, especially vegans, but vegetarians in general, have much lower tissue levels of creatine. And that would definitely be one supplement most vegetarians will get a lot of benefit from, much more so than meat eaters who are already getting creatine from the meat. And remember, creatine is not derived from animal products, so if you're worried about that, that's not an issue. Obviously, vegetarians can be lacking in a number of vitamins and such, which, I'm not going to go into that. You just go look that up. You probably, if you are vegetarian, you already know what they are, such as B12. But again, omnivores can certainly be lacking a lot of things too. It's really a matter, are you constructing this diet correctly for your health or not? And you can do that as a vegetarian and as an omnivore. So, it's, again, I'm not really trying to target vegetarians per se, other than to say, if you're doing it for the right reasons, then by all means stick to it. I just don't want to see people doing it for incorrect reasons in terms of what they think is going on from a physiological, biological standpoint. And yes, again, if you went from a typical American diet to a vegetarian diet and you got healthier, it makes sense that you would. But that's not the same as going from a typical American diet to a correctly well thought out omnivorous diet. So I hope that covers the topic for you. I'm sure my comments on this are not going to make some people happy who are hell-bent on vegetarian eating no matter what you tell them. That's fine. And I hope this info is of use to you. And if you like it, please, hit the like and the Twitter buttons and all that. And I'll see you all on the Brink Zone.
Now, for more information on this topic, head on over to www.brinkzone.com, where you'll find my blog, more videos for reports on fat loss, muscle building supplementation, fitness, health, and longevity, as well as a ton of articles in my free weekly fitness newsletter. And I'll see you all on the Brink Zone.